Hi, I'm Rashid Ogunloro, coach, speaker, and author, and welcome to this latest in my Coaching Yourself and Your Team Compassionate Leadership series of videos. And this video is all about deep listening and holding space. Deep listening and holding space for yourself, to yourself, for your team, for your colleagues, for loved ones. This is a tool that can be useful in so many scenarios, for your neighbors, for your service users, for your stakeholders. And it's part of this Coaching Yourself and Your Team Compassionate series for me as part of the broader NHS South East Leadership Academy Leadership Short series of videos. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Rashid Ogunloro, I'm a coach. My background was in media and performance. And for a while I was a Samaritan volunteer and I was co-director of the Samaritans in central London. And it's probably during my time as a volunteer and a co-director that I first discovered deep listening, because being a Samaritan volunteer, you're listening deeply. You're being very, very present with people often in distress. And of course, on this journey of change and challenge and leadership, there'll be many times where you're going to need to listen to people, to be available to your team. So let's start here with this quote, which came to me a number of years ago. If you listen quietly enough, life will whisper its secrets to you. Perhaps those of you, perhaps in clinical roles, but also many of you in certain administrative roles and managerial roles and so on, know that this to be true, that though sometimes it's about just being present and things will come to you. I certainly know it also part of my background in performance and so on, listening really deeply. So this invitation is just being there, being really present. We also know this. We don't need to be hugely qualified in this and that. We know it. You might know it in your home life, as a sibling, as a parent, as a child, with your friends, listening. So what I want to do first of all is to share some top tips, which will help us to get into the space of deep listening and holding space. Generally caring about your team and your colleagues, finding out what makes them tick and shine. Setting in that check-in times, and also spontaneously checking in too. When you're speaking to somebody, be present. You know what I mean? Be present. Be present. Be there, present, mind, body. Being open-minded, open-hearted. You're really wanting to develop the active listening skills, really listening. And I feel that this is about listening to what they're saying, listening to what they're saying, listening to the breaks and the space, listening to their tone, listening to the energy with which they're saying something, listening to the hesitation, listening to the passion, the emotion. We want to develop a habit of self-reflection to get to listen to ourselves. We want to encourage us sharing and support. Pause before jumping in and spotting the signs of change and distress. And I've put a couple of quotes of mine here. Head thinks, the heart knows. Nature, mindfulness, creativity, meditation, silence, all of these things, acceptance, gratitude, these will all help deepen these skills. So when it comes to actually holding that space, perhaps even before then, it's going to be important that you've created that stillness and space for yourself, that quiet time, that downtime, that just clearing your desk and so on before that meeting with that person, or before that meeting where you're presenting, so that you're able to be centered. So I remember when I was training as a coach, a lot of that is in terms of our own state management. And I've got a separate video here, which is about managing your time, energy, emotions, which might help you. Perhaps you might actually have a role that you've done or role within the NHS where you have many of these skills already. But it's important that we apply them in all aspects of our life, home life, work life. Sometimes we use them at home, but we don't use them at work or vice versa. So what you're wanting to do is just be present, be there, listen with your entire system. Sometimes when people are speaking to me, I'll even close my eyes and I'll listen to them. So I hear them, I can absorb what they're saying. We want to listen without that judgment. You can see here that there are some tips: paying attention, withholding judgment, being present, body language, reflecting back what they said, using their words, and asking questions gently as apt. But really, for me, first and foremost, this process is about being present. How are you? What's going on for you? And what would you like to share? Is that something you'd like to talk anything more about? Where do you feel? What help, if any, would you like? What support do you have? Trust your instincts. You may well find that you're actually far better than this than you think. And sometimes this thing about holding space and deep listening will have an aspect of just simply being there. I was saying that sometimes in life there's no problem, sometimes in life there's no solution. Between these two apparent poles, life flows. So there may be certain times where you're holding space for somebody and something serious has happened. They've just lost somebody, there's just been a bereavement, there's somebody who's just passed. It can happen very often in many parts of our lives, in our work and in working within healthcare and so on. It might be something that's going on for somebody personally, something that's gone on professionally. So sometimes it's about just being there, being present, letting that person that you know that you're there and that you care. Very often people, when they are given that space, will talk through these things themselves, and then they'll get to that point where they're fine and ready to move further forward. But otherwise, we can reflect back to them what they said. You know, you were saying this, this, this. You shared this, this. Pausing, checking in, finding out, asking them if they need help, support, or guidance. It's about not jumping in. What about this? I'll do that. It's not about that. So what we're doing is putting on our listening hat and our, if you like, coach hat. We're not necessarily wearing that management hat or leadership hat, but of course we've got them to hand should we need to jump in there and to give some guidance or support. It's about just being present. One of the things that's going to help you to deepen this is always ask yourself, what's your intention? Is your intention to prove yourself right? Or is your intention to be there and care? I think that particular situations get challenging. Always ask yourself, what is my intention here? And I always find that it's something I'll apply myself. Whenever the conversation's a difficult situation, what's my intention here? And that will help you shape the input and the impact. You can also work sometimes the other way around. What's the impact I'm wanting to have here? And that helps with the intention, but the intentionality. And our intentionality as a leader should be to help everybody to flourish and grow and to empower everybody. And I think when you do this, you need to be mindful that this isn't something you just do for one person, that you make available to all. Different members of your team might need different support in a slightly different way in different times. And some might find that this holding space is apt for them, where somebody else, it might be a different kind of style. But you've got to be ready that with anybody at any time, this thing about just being able to hold space, even if the person who seems very strong and self-motivated and so on might sometimes need it. Here are some different ways of being. We often think all the time about deep analysis and so on, but actually sometimes just being silently present, deep gratitude can be very powerful. And mindfully taking actions, gracious acceptance, gentle reflection. These are all aspects for me of deep listening skills. So I'm going to invite you to just take a moment maybe to close your eyes and to pause and to just sit with what you've learned. How are you feeling? How are you doing? What thoughts in your mind? How's the body doing? This is you deep listening to yourself. What's really important? What's really important right now? What action, if any, are you going to take? And sometimes the action may well be the action of not doing, time with nature, reconnecting, having that conversation of just seeing how somebody is, beyond the goals, beyond the roles. I want to thank you so much for being here today, and I wish you every ongoing success. Take care. Bye-bye.